Hey, this is Sari Torres. You were once again stuck in the existential crisis corner. Okay, so today we're going to talk about how you can make every scene count in your work of creative writing. Now, when I was younger, there was this show called 24, and I don't know if you've ever watched it, but it's really uplifting stuff.
Who are you working for? I said shut up and look at me! Do you know who I am?
The whole premise of the show was that the season took place during one day. So 1 hour of Jack Bauer's story would translate into 1 exact hour of the show. Now, as a kid, my brother and I, we were little twerps, and we were always asking questions about stupid things. And so we would say to our parents, well, if it's every single hour of his life in a day, when does he go to the bathroom? Why don't we see that? Huh? What do you have to say about that, huh? Do you? To follow up on that, somebody from a podcast I was listening to, I think it was Writing Excuses, but I can't remember. They mentioned that there was no way Jack Bauer would be able to quickly navigate the streets of real-life California that quickly.
Go out the front door, get into an Uber, take the 101 to the 110. When you see Disney Concert Hall, stop and get out!
So to these stupid sort of questions my brother and I were asking, my parents would go, who would want to watch that? And as stupid of an answer as that seems, it's completely valid. Thank God they didn't make it 100% realistic. Or how long would we spend just watching Jack Bauer yelling at traffic and road rage? Or yelling for someone to replace the toilet paper in the CTU bathroom.
Damn it! Damn it! Damn it!
Now, obviously, this rant about 24 is something on a completely different scale than what you're probably writing. Most writing isn't going to be based on that sort of real-time sort of storytelling. All the same, you need to keep these sort of ideas in mind with your own writing. Now, when writing my first book as a teenager, I didn't think about this. I had my main characters start out in a town, and then they decided to take a trip into the forest, which meant that there was a scene where they packed. There was a scene where they asked their parents' permission.
20 minutes later.
There was a scene where they, planned the whole trip.
6 hours later.
And then there was a scene where they left. And then there was the scene where they went hiking.
2,000 years later.
And then they finally got to the freaking forest. Is this realistic? Yes. Does it have to be shown? No. The human brain has this weird tendency to fill in the blanks. And you need to use this to your advantage. Now, if I were to show a clip of me walking out the door, and then of me walking into a grocery store, you would assume that I got there somehow. But readers don't need to see the whole thing. Boom. Character leaves. Boom. They're there.
Take car, go to Mum's, kill Phil, sorry, grab Liz, go to the Winchester, have a nice cold pint, and wait for all this to blow over.
But you may argue there are travel scenes that work. There are bathroom scenes that work. That's because they're there to add something to the story. And Thelma and Louise, the road is used as a storytelling technique. The whole story is based around that road trip. Their physical journey is sort of on par with their emotional one. That was done completely deliberately. It wasn't because they were confused how to get them from point A to point B. That's why, I mean, even if you're reading something that's based on true events, sometimes they'll condense certain things where it doesn't technically change the story, it just kind of lumps certain scenes together in order to fit the time or in order to make it so it doesn't drag as much. There was actually one class in film school, I can't remember what it was, but if you used the excuse, but it's realistic, to the professor, they would get completely pissed at you. Because that's not how storytelling really works. Now, what happens when you use this excuse too much? You get a movie like The Room. Now, if you've never seen it, this movie is a mess. And the thing is, it might be hard to tell, other than the directing and acting problems, why it's such a mess. It's because they put in so many scenes that don't need to be there. And so you're just watching this movie where, all of a sudden, they start playing catch. For no reason.
Sorry you had to see that. I'm not sorry. You enjoyed it. Almost as much as
These grown adults just playing catch, and then they stop. And it has nothing to do with the story. It doesn't add anything to the characters. It just happens. And there's a moment where the main character goes in a store to buy flowers and then leaves.
Hi.
Can I help you?
Yeah, can I have a dozen red roses, please?
Oh, hi, Johnny. I didn't know it was you.
We didn't have to see that. We didn't have to see him buy the flowers. The flower shop owner doesn't show up again. Nothing happens in the flower store other than the fact that he buys the flowers. And then there's another character that says she's dying of cancer.
I got the results of the test back. I definitely have breast cancer.
And then they never mention it again. The character shows up, but she's never mentioned again. Now, could that theoretically happen in real life? Of course. But that's not what we're doing here. We're telling a story. We're not just videotaping everything that happens like the Truman Show.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Now, compare writing to any other form of art, like let's say painting. And let's say you're sitting there and you're looking at this beautiful mountain and you're going to paint a picture of that mountain.
You can do anything on this canvas.
And as you're painting away, and then you look over and you notice there's some freaking jerk threw a bag of Cheetos on the ground. And there's like a little ant party going in on it. Now, are you going to paint that bag of Cheetos? I mean, if you're making a painting that's like about not littering, or it's making some sort of statement about that, then sure, go ahead, paint that stupid bag. But most of the time, you're either going to throw that bag away so it's not in your way, or while you're painting, you're going to replace it with like a rock or something. Because if someone sees your painting of this beautiful mountain, they're going to say, why is that bag of Cheetos there? What's the point of that? Because everything in that piece of art needs to mean something. It's got to add something to the whole. Now, while you're thinking about the significance of the scenes in your story, you should also keep in mind that scenes may be more impactful if there is more than one thing being affected within that scene. So instead of just having a scene where, you know, one of the characters gets in an argument with a different one, maybe they get in that argument while something else is happening. Maybe while they're in a cave that's falling apart.
You feel inside! Do it now! Okay!
It's not just them sitting at a table having an argument. It's them arguing while their lives are at stake. The more sort of things you stack together, the more exciting that scene is going to be for your readers. The more impactful that scene is going to be. Now, keep in mind as well, you don't want to overload the characters and have 50 things going on at once. So make sure you use discretion when you're putting these sorts of scenes together. So what do we take away from all this? Writing isn't just telling. It's putting something together so that it can be read, understood, and consumed by others. Readers are going to care about the scenes in your story more if there is a reason or a payoff or explanation for it. All of your scenes need to have a reason to exist. And keep in mind, your readers aren't going to expect 100% realism, and neither should you. Be as accurate as you can be, but balance it with emotion, pace, and entertainment value to your story. So, this has been the Existential Crisis Corner. I'm Sari Torres. Thank you for visiting today. And I hope you all are doing well on your projects, whatever it be, even if that project is life. Stay weird.